Stummings, pond, garden, and fish enthusiast. My good friend Raleigh from Jamaica fish keeping has asked me to do a segment on UV light and algae. So this is what I learned, this is what I know of, and I hope it helps, and I hope you enjoy it. And let's help support each other out there, okay guys? So let's first look at the algae that we're trying to get rid of, at least in the pond and aquarium aspects. Algae, for the most part, is a one-celled plant that needs certain elements to thrive, that being a nutrient-rich water and a source of light. Now, even in winter, I get a fair bit of string algae underneath all that ice and snow above my ponds, believe it or not. And you also have to remember that algae is quite normal. You'll see it in the pristine streams. You'll see it just virtually everywhere. So just because there's a bit of algae in your pond, don't panic. It's only natural. And in your fish tanks, it's generally because your lights are too strong and your water is too high of nutrients. But let's deal with some of the types that we have to deal with on a regular basis in our ponds and our aquariums. Now let's deal with number one, the dreaded green pea soup water. Now this is phytoplankton. It's somewhat unsightly, but it's really natural. It's a food source for a lot of our fish. And I get it generally in the springtime in my ponds. I don't panic about it. I don't worry about doing a lot of water changes because that will only amplify it, believe it or not. The reason why it's there is because my filtration has been shut down over the winter and my pond plants haven't had a chance to thrive and outcompete the single-celled algae plant. So I just let time take a hold, and in a short few weeks it will clear. I don't have to use any chemicals. I let nature take care of that. So I really don't get that worried about it. Again, it's a form of plankton that your fish are going to eat. It's not that bad unless it's so thick that it spawns into something else. Then you have to deal with something major. The second group, and that's a filamentous, is an unsightly pond scum that floats to the top. This can be oxygen robbing rich and should be dealt with fairly quick. This is usually brought on by temperature change and strong sunlight in a tank or pond. It's a nutrient imbalance that needs to be dealt with. The last group is one we all deal with, and that's clarifier, and that's blanketweed. I might have pronounced that wrong. It might be clarifier. I apologize. That's blanketweed, and that covers our rocks, driftwood, or anything else. It's just the blanketweed. It's a pain. It can be removed, but it's pretty natural. It's food source for some, especially if you have American flagfish. They're going to love you for it. But let's look at the main topic, and that's ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet light has the ability to actually kill algae, and for the most part, that's your single-celled pea soup variety algae. And what that does is if it passes through a UV clarifier, it will kill it and it'll allow it to clump, and your mechanical filtration can remove it then. Now if we compare that to an ultraviolet sterilizer, which some people get confused between an ultraviolet clarifier and a sterilizer. Sterilizer the water passes through this light source at a much slower pace. This can kill off many forms of zooplankton, kill off beneficial bacteria. It will help you keep your water clear, but it'll be so sterile that it's not helping your fish or your pond or your tank. So I'm not a real big fan of UV sterilizers. Tell you the truth, I don't use any form of UV clarification or sterilization in my ponds. I let nature do everything it needs to do, and I do that by a good balance of plants, through filtration, and through not overstocking. That can be done much easier in a pond, I think, than in a tank. A tank, we have to deal with many more things. You can see by a couple of the quick videos I've shot of my tanks inside, I tend to get a little build-up, especially in my koi and goldfish, because they are bigger fish, they're messier, and I can't put plants in to offset and help with the nutrient-rich waters. Therefore, I get more build-up of green algae that sticks to my tank, and then I have to scrape it off. The other tanks in my microfish room, basically what I've done in those is I've tried to plant them as best I can. It keeps the pea soup water at bay, but I still get some blanket algae, and I think that's because I've given them too much light and for too many hours, so I backed that off. So just to review, the 3 algae that I discussed as far as UV clarifiers and sterilizers. The first one being the green water. The sterilizers and clarifiers will work on. What that does is that it will kill the green algae cell. It'll allow it to be caught by your filtration, whether it's in your aquarium or in a pond filtration, mechanical filtration. It will be able to be caught, and you can dispose of it that way. As far as scum algae or pond scum, that is a mechanical only filtration. It's way too big to go through generally a pond clarifier or sterilizer. If it does, it'll help kill it. And as far as the dreaded blanket algae or blanketweed algae, our clarifiers and sterilizers will do absolutely nothing as it sticks to the bottom and will grow over your rocks and everything else, and it will not get sucked up into your filtration system or to your UV sterilizers or clarifiers. So that one does absolutely nothing. There's a good chance your pumps will get clogged by it. So again, but the only thing that I know of that'll get rid of that are some snails, very few, and American flagfish. Love the stuff. So if you can take the nippy little fish, unless you don't have any long-finned or slow-moving fish, they're quite a good fish to add to your system. So again, thanks Raleigh for having me on, and don't forget to subscribe to all the people that helped out. Thanks again. Bye. Enjoyed or learned something from what I was able to send you. Take care. All the best.